How you feeling? Good. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm telling you, fun.
Shabbat Shalom, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir
Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir
Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. There you go. Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Let me hear you clap.
Hava Nashira, Shir
Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah, Hava. Quick capo change. We're going to sing a little Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you all here. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. That repeats. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, let's hear it from our live audience. Shabbat Shalom.
There
And
we go.
from our digital viewers, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Woo, woo, woo.
It's great. Beautiful weather. 70 degrees. Georgia, it's almost November. It's 70 degrees. Remember, my people are from Vermont. There's snow on the ground right now. Talk about pushing some hot buttons when I tell them how nice it is here. They don't want to hear it. It is beautiful. And it's also, more than the weather, it's beautiful to be together. Be here in person, to be here online, and to have this hybrid worship. We're going to try and keep it up as long as the weather holds. Why not? We've got it. We can do it. Friends, we haven't had to make this announcement in a little while. Turn off your cell phones. If you've got a cell phone, please silence it or just turn it off so you can be fully present. Of course, our service tonight is pinned in the Facebook feed, and we welcome you to comment and give shouts out and tell us what you're thinking and what you're praying for as we go. Mazel tov to this weekend's B'nai Mitzvah, Levi Pearlstein and Drew Chase. Woohoo! Guys, we are so psyched and so proud of you. Our outdoor setup, for those of you who aren't here, and well, let me explain what's going on. There's about 40 congregants here. Congregants everybody's separated by their pods, about 6 feet away from the next person. Everyone's wearing masks. And Cantor and I are about 10 feet away from each other and about 40 feet away from the closest congregants. So we are, I think, as safe as we are able to be. And that's the setup. That's where we are. So you can see it for the folks who are tuning in. That's what's going on. Cantor Lorna Desnick, Rabbi Spike Anderson, Stephen Blick is on the back end on the computers. Mark Feinberg is here with our cameras, and Mark, thank you so much. I'd love everybody to take a moment and turn to the people next to you, whether you're at home or here, or if you have nobody next to you, say it to me. Let's give each other a Shabbat Shalom. Hey, how are you? What's going on? Where are you coming from? Give a big shout out, everybody.
And we have Rabbi Scott Colbert and Karen Colbert in the house also.
They are here. Very good. Thank you. And so we'll come back with our chorus, Hine Ma Tov. It is so good to be here together. Everybody, please join us.
Hine Ma Tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine Ma Tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Ma Tov, Hine Ma Tov. Na 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 na. Clap your hands. Hine Ma Tov, Hine Ma Tov. Na 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 na. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine Ma Tov,
Hine Ma Tov. Ya na 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 na.
Hine Ma Tov, Hine Ma Tov. Ya la 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 la, ya la la.
So I am very glad personally that it is Shabbat. It has been in some way a very tough week. In addition to lots of moving parts, there's been lots of ups and downs, and I'm just very pleased that we are here for Shabbat and we're here together. So whether you're at home or whether you're here at Temple Emanu-El, let's take 3 deep breaths together. Deep breath in and out. The second breath connecting us to one another. Out. Our third breath connecting us to Jews who are doing this the world over. Deep breath in and out. If you have candles at home, get ready to light them. You'll find our candle blessings on page 120 of your Mishkan, page 2 of your Daf. If you're here in person or at home, I'd ask you to rise for our candle blessings. And know that we Jews have been attempting to bring light into the darkness, as we do in this moment, since the beginning of time as we know it.
So we're going to bring in all this amazing Shabbat energy, this Shabbat light, and this Shabbat warmth and joy as we sing together the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And we can be seated. In a moment, you'll find Shalom Alech on page 142 in your Mishkan, page 2 on your Daf. The idea that on Shabbat we Jews get a second soul, that we have an elevated potential represented by this metaphor of the angels, the Shabbat angels, peeking in our windows as we get ready to usher in the Sabbath. We say to them, bless us, come on in, stay a while with us, and then when you're ready, leave in peace. Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lochem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
In a moment, we'll sing L'Chadodi, page 138, Mishkan, page 3 on your Daf. L'Chadodi is the prayer created by the Loriana Kabbalists in northern Israel, the mountain city of Sfat. And I'll tell you, friends, I miss Israel like a pining in my soul. I miss it so much. The Kabbalists had this idea that in the way that the groom awaits the bride to come down the aisle, Jews would wait for Shabbat, knowing that not only were the two besheret, soulmates meant for each other, but through the union, through the respect of one another, the support of one another, the elevation of one another, so much could be created. A marriage, a family, a union, a world. L'Chadodi 138.
L'Chadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadodi,
L'Chadodi likrat kala,
B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'letihila. L'Chadodi, L'Chadodi,
Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nei lecha, ki hi mikor habiracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tehila. Lechadodi,
Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Hitoreri, kiva orei, kumi ori, uri, shir daveri, kivod Adonai alayich nigla.
Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise and face the entrance of Temple Emanu-El's driveway. The doors of your home.
V'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala.
Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
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 We remain standing for Baruch, page 4 of your daf, page 146 of your Mishkan. We are warmed up. We are ready. Let us pray. We bow.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach
Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed.
Yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai. Yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai.
All right, we really feel it. If you look up in the sky, you see the moon rising right behind the Tolk. If you look behind the Tolk over there, 2 o'clock for me. And as we do that, this gorgeous moon, the stars coming out, we together roll into dark. Page 4 on your daf.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Hooray, oh, my Lila. Hooray, Lord, mipnei choshech. Hooray, Lord, mipnei choshech. חושך מפניו.
Roll into dark,
Roll into light. Night becomes day. Day turns to night.
roll into dark,
Roll into light.
night becomes day.
Day turns to night.
Deep breath. Small 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
And we can be seated. You'll see via Hafta, page 5 of your Daf 154 of your Mishkan. The Via Hafta prayer, which is part of the Shema, essentially asks the question, when is it that we should be Jewishly oriented? When is it that we should have those Torah values that have been passed from generation to generation from our people? When is it that we're supposed to have God as part of our existence? And the answer that the Via Hafta gives us is in some ways ubiquitous. The answer is, hang on. It is, okay. You'll have to wait for the answer. Okay, so I'm gonna take out the, okay. The beauty of the outside service is not only do I not have to wear a tie, but there's sometimes technical difficulties, and we'll just roll with it. So the question is, when is it that we're supposed to do these Jewish things? And the answer, the ubiquitous answer that's given is, well, when you stand up, and when you lie down, and when you're at home, and when you're at work, and when you're on the way. In other words, always. Well, that seems like a nice answer, but it is very hard, I would even say impossible, to do anything mindfully always. To do anything of importance with intention always. I'll give you an example. With me, just take a nice deep breath wherever you are. Deep breath in and out. One more for emphasis. So we've just done something together, this deep breath in, that you literally have been doing every second of every moment since you were born. But normally we don't think about it, unless, of course, we prime ourselves with reminders, reasons, symbolism, knowing that that breath that we take almost for granted fuels us, makes the blood move through our veins, allows us to love and laugh and live. So too with the Via Hafta prayer, reminders, the tzitzit, the mezuzah, the Judaism in our homes, the Jewish words on our lips. These are always to remind us of how to do these, how to live a particular life. Please, friends, join us with Via Hafta, page 5.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך וקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים.
אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi Chamocha can be found page 158, page 6 of your daf.
וגאלנו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני עם ישראל. ידה לי 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 לי, ידה לי לי לי, ידה לי 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 לי, ידה לי
The Hashki Venu prayer is the one in our service which acknowledges that life is not always rainbows and unicorns. That there are tough times and real fears and real dangers in the world. The translation, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and rise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel for your name's sake. Be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Hashkivenu can be found 160, page 6 on your daf.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom L'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom L'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom L'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Ushmor Tetenu Uvoenu L'Chaim L'Shalom Me'ata ve'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom L'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom L'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim L'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim.
Shabbat is, according to Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, a haven in time. Our sages say that more than the Jews protecting Shabbat, Shabbat has protected Jews throughout the history of our time on this earth. Take a moment, each of you, if you would, and think about what you do on Shabbat, even if this Shabbat is the first time you're doing it, that makes this day special, that makes this time more than the rest of the week. Think about what it feels like when you don't have this, not the other 6 days, but the Shabbats where you don't do something special, making it special. Then you begin to circle around what makes Shabbat elevated, sacred, kadosh, how it can enhance our lives, these lives which go day by day and are finite. Shabbat is our gift. It's ours to unwrap and use as we wish, but it is something very, very special. The Shamru can be found on page 162, 7 of your daf.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam, that repeats V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam b'rit olam, B'nei uven b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam le'olam, B'nei uven b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam le'olam, V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam b'rit olam, Kishet yomim asa Adonai et HaShamayim ve'et ha'aretz, U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinachal, V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam HaShabbat, L'aseret HaShabbat, L'dorotam Berit Olam.
One of the things that I love about Judaism and the Torah cycle of Parsha Shavua, the Torah portion of the week, is that there's a narrative that's our narrative, and the tradition is that you are supposed to read into it. You're supposed to hear the narrative, you're supposed to see the story, not so much for factual truth, but a way of reflecting on our life, our lives, our society, and the world, and even more importantly, our place in it. These sacred stories of Torah are the mirror that each generation of Jews holds in front of itself in order to ask and perhaps answer some of the existential questions that keep us up at night. This week's Torah portion is Noah, Nach. Now, Noah is presented, at least in popular culture, as sort of a cute little story because there's animals and they march 2 by 2 and it's cute. But Noah, if you look more deeply, is a complex story, maybe even a tragic story, and definitely one that has a dark cautionary tale attached to it. So read into it as I relay the highlights. 10 generations after Adam comes Noah, and God essentially makes the decision that because the world is rife with senseless violence, that it's time to end this experiment and literally wash the slate clean with a flood. The word that describes the violence that was prevalent is Hamas. Now, Hamas is also the name of a terrorist organization. It's some sort of Arabic acronym, so it's just a coincidence, but a pretty interesting one. That Hamas means senseless violence. People committed senseless violence against one another to such a degree that God decided that the world, humankind anyway, didn't deserve to live. The rabbis delve into the word Hamas of senseless violence even more and say it wasn't just physical violence, but verbal violence. That words were used, accusations were accused, and people slandered each other with such vitriol that it was akin to violence. That and the words themselves spurned on the physical violence, which led to more words and violence until the whole thing started to tumble. So God makes the decision. This is an experiment that's gone horribly wrong. People can't treat each other well. They treat each other horribly. And so God decides to wash the world clean. Except for there's one problem with this plan, and that's Noah. Noah is described in Torah as an ish tzaddik bedorotav, a righteous man, ellipsis, in his generation. Now, the way that one approaches Torah is that no words are wasted in Torah. If a word is used or used twice or used in a particular way, there's a meaning attached to it, either a meaning for us to expose or maybe create. And so the rabbis say, why doesn't the Torah just tell us that Noah is an ish tzaddik, a righteous man? Why put that descriptive with it, that he's a righteous man, bedorotav, in his generation? And here's what they come up with. They're split. On one hand, God says to Noah, Noah, the world is full of chamas, and I'm going to wipe it clean with a flood, and so I want you to build an ark with these dimensions and these dimensions and these dimensions. Bring 2 of every animal, 7 of each kosher animal, male and female, and I want you to bring them into this ark and close the door, and the world will drown. Noah doesn't question God, and the rabbis are troubled by this. Noah does what he's told. He does what he needs to do to protect himself, and he brings with him his wife, whose name is not listed in Parsha Noah, but later on we find her name is Naamah. There are 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Nepheth, and the sons' wives. Why? Because Noah's not going unless his wife's coming. His wife's not coming unless the sons are coming, and the sons aren't coming unless their wives are coming. So that's the human crew who gets onto the ark with all those animals. They shut the door, and it begins to rain. The rabbis, in their own way, rail against Noah. Why didn't Noah speak truth to power, to God? Right? It's a little unfair. Why didn't Noah have the chutzpah to challenge God, is really what they're saying. Why not ask God for a chance to allow the people of the earth to do tshuva, to correct their evil ways? Think about Jonah and the whale and people of Nineveh. Why, say the rabbis, didn't Noah stand up for the innocents? Who are the innocents? Everybody's chamas. Well, what about babies? What about infants? Surely they weren't chamas. What about the animals, the ones not on the ark? Noah says nothing. He does what he's told. He gets his family onto the ark. It begins to rain. They close the hatch, and the world begins to drown. The architecture of the ark has some interesting points to it. The one I'd like to bring up tonight is the skylight. Part of the command for Noah to build on this ark was a skylight, although the Torah doesn't say why. The rabbis, of course, fill in what the Torah doesn't say. The skylight was there so that Noah and his family will feel the rain that's coming in and drowning the world. They won't be immune to the elements. They will feel at least a part of it. They can't isolate themselves, bubble themselves off so that they are safe and protected while everybody else drowns. The other thing that they say, and this is where it gets dark, is it wasn't just the rain that was supposed to come through, but the screams of the people dying. Nonetheless, it rained. Noah and his family were in there for half a year, and the world was covered with water. The people, the houses, the trees, even the mountains. By and by, as the story goes, it stops raining. And Noah goes out onto the deck of his ark with a bird. Now, this piece of the story is fascinating to me because it's not essential to the narrative. What I'm about to tell you isn't really important to the narrative of the story. So, with the rabbinic overture that every word and part of the Torah means something, we have to pay attention to it because it's not important to the narrative. The first bird that Noah lets out is a raven. The idea is that if the raven flies off and comes back, that means that the water hasn't receded enough for there to be dry land. If the raven doesn't come back, that means the raven has found dry land or perhaps has died trying. One of the two. Noah lets off the raven. It flies off and never comes back. Does that mean there's dry land? Does that mean that the raven died trying to find dry land, got lost? We don't know. Noah doesn't know. So he waits a couple days, and this time he lets out a dove. The dove flies out, finds dry land enough to return to Noah with the olive branch in its beak. Now the international sign of peace, the olive branch and the mouth of the dove. This way, Noah and his family know that the water is receding and hope is on its way, and at some point they're going to get off this ark. The narrative of the story doesn't depend on the raven. You could have the narrative with just the dove. So why the raven? The rabbis say that the raven was who Noah was. The dove is who Noah should have been. The raven and Noah did what they needed to do to watch out for themselves, but only themselves. The dove watched out for itself, but also went the extra mile to watch out for others. Ish Sadiq or Ish Sadiq B'dorotav, a righteous man or just a righteous man in his generation. The story has somewhat of a tragic ending. The waters recede. After about a year, the ark is on dry land. Noah opens the ark, the animals flow out. He makes a sacrifice of thanksgiving, and the exact next thing he does is plant an orchard in order to get wine, in order to get drunk. He gets so drunk that he winds up naked in the dirt in front of his 3 sons. It's a tragic tale. This was the righteous man of his generation, the one who was the best of the lot, who stood up. You know, his values were standing when everybody else's were low. But the rabbis say he just could not handle his lack of action. By not standing up to God, by not questioning for tshuva, by not standing up for the innocent, that he was wrecked with guilt. And the irony, of course, is the man who withstands the flood ends up drowning in alcohol. That's the last we see of Noah. If this was a Greek play, it would be a tragedy, a tragic figure. This righteous man ends up naked and drunk in front of his children, and that's the last that we see of him. So what's the lesson here? Think about it for a second. The dove, the raven, ourselves only, ourselves as or with others, ensuring that we are not bubbled off from the woes around us, a skylight to let in some rain, a skylight to hear the screams. These stories as truths, in that sometimes they are cautionary tales, not to make the same mistake as those who came before us and our ancestors learned. 10 generations after Noah, you've got Abraham, who haggles with God, who stands up to God, haggles with God for the innocence of Sodom and Gomorrah, yet isn't able to stand up for his own son, Isaac. Hundreds of years after that, Moses stands up for the Jewish people When God says after we leave Egypt, I am sick of these stiff-necked people, Jews, stubborn. And Moses, I'm going to wipe them all out and start again with you. And of course, there's precedent for this in Torah. It's Noah. We believe God. Moses haggles with God. He gets into God's proverbial head. Why, God, would you take our people out of Egypt just to kill us? What's the logic in that? What are the nations of the earth going to say about you, God? What about your rep that you brought people out just to kill them? What are they going to say about you? And by the way, God, says Moses, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, you made a promise that we were going to be as numerous as the stars in the sky and the dust of the earth. How can you keep your promise if everybody's dead? And then the fourth thing he says, and the rabbis love this about Moses, if you're going to take them, God, you've got to take me first. Of course, Moses had the precedent of learning from Abraham. Abraham was able to learn from Noah what to do and not to do, so that one can look in the mirror at the end of the day, at the end of one's life, making sure that one did the right thing at the right time and not made mistakes of inaction that would cause one to be ashamed, to feel not just embarrassed, but so low that we lay in the dust of the earth. We, of course, today have the blessing of having the example of all three, being able to study through our Torah normal, regular people like you and me who lived in extraordinary times and had to make decisions what to do and not to do, when to speak up and when to be silent, when to stand up for those who weren't like us and when not to. I started this Drash tonight by saying, I want you to read into it. I want you to read into it. Thinking back to our patriarchs and our matriarchs, we invoke our Amidah, our central standing prayer, and in invoking their names, we recall who they were to us and that we are part of a grand, noble lineage. Please rise, friends, per page 164, as we ask for the blessing of the thoughts that we have to go into actions of our hands, words of our mouth, and change in the world.
Page 7 through 9 on your daf. That my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, ya 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 la Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We invite you to continue your prayers silently, either with the words of your Siddur, of the Amidah, or the words of your heart. And when you're done, you may take a seat.
Elohai Nitzur Lishoni Mera. Noach reminds us that we must be mindful of our speech. This prayer asks God to help us to guard our speech from evil, to keep our lips from speaking lies, but also before those who might direct evil or lies or slander towards us, that we will hold our tongues, that we will rise above that. Elohai nitzur lishoni mera, usfatai medaber mirma, milim kalilai nafshi tidom, nafshi keafar la kol tihiyeh. Elohai, Elohai, Elohai nitzur lishoni mera, usfatai medaber mirma, milim kalilai nafshi tidom, v'nafshi keafar la kol tihiyeh. Elohai, Elohai, Dach libi, Dach libi, Dach libi, mitoratecha. Nitzur lishoni mera, tzvatai medaber mirma, v'nim kalilai nafshi tidom, nafshi keafar la kol tihiyeh. Elohai, Elohai, Elohai nitzur lishoni mera, tzvatai medaber mirma, v'nim kalilai nafshi tidom, v'nafshi keafar la kol tihiyeh. Elohai, Elohai, Iyu Leratzon Nimrefi, Ve'Hegyu Libi Lefanecha, Adonai, Adonai, Adonai Turi, Adonai Turi,
On behalf of Robert Wittenstein and our Board of Trustees, I would encourage everybody to pay attention to the digital announcements that come out often. We have so much going on here at Temple Emanu-El this week alone, opportunities for lifelong learning, social justice, Israel advocacy, social connections, and worship and spirituality. There is a lot going on. This is the moment which we call our Shehechianu moment. It's the moment where we think to ourselves, and then if we're willing to share with the community something good that is happening in our lives, has just happened, is happening, is about to happen, a simcha. And for those of you who are joining us via social media, please at this point feel free to let us know what's good in your life right now. What are you grateful for? While we're here, let's see if this will work. For our friends who are here at Temple Emanu-El, if you want to stand up and in a loud voice tell us a simcha, I'll try to repeat it back for everybody. We'll start sort of on my far right. Who is that? Is that the Ziffers over there? If you'd like to say something, I'm not putting anybody on the spot. If you want to say something, go ahead and stand up and say it nice and loud. Yes, Rick. Rick Shabiro, thrilled to be here with our community here at Temple Emanu-El. Alana. Okay, yes, another peace deal, another normalization between Israel and this time Sudan. It's amazing. It is miraculous. That is worth a Shehechianu. Others. I can't see because the lights are right in my eyes. Oh.
Mazel tov.
Alana has an important birthday. We won't say the number over the internet, but happy birthday. Mazel tov. Okay. Others. Robert.
Susan's mother has been in lockdown in her assisted living for 7 months, and they opened it up for visits. And today we got an opportunity to see her mother for the first time since COVID started, and it was wonderful to get a face-to-face visit in with my mother.
That's great. So just repeating for everybody who I don't think can hear it. So Susan's mother's been on lockdown at one of the senior care facilities for 7 months, and today was the first time that there was a face-to-face visit. And I'm sure that was like manna in the desert for everybody. Yep. Okay, is that the Franks there? I'm at the Frank family. Anything going by? Hal and Paula. Okay. Is that Marvin standing up? All right, nice and loud, Marvin.
Two things. This Wednesday, JD, our app, which is type 1 diabetes, we raised on Wednesday $50,000 for research.
$50,000 raised for diabetes research. Amazing, yes.
And then on Sunday, Tom Morgan is coming to give a talk at 2 o'clock.
Yes. Tom Morgan speaking 2 o'clock to Temple Emanu-El on Sunday. Those are all Shehechianu moments. Colbert's, anything to add? Okay, and I can't see because the light's in my eyes. Burgers, okay, yes.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am thankful to be here on a wonderful night with everyone. It's a beautiful night. I'm also thankful that my family has their health together, and I'm thankful it's my daughter's 14th birthday coming up this weekend.
Okay, thankful to be here on this night. Thankful that family has health, and 14th birthday for His daughter. Okay, Mazel Tov, everybody. I'm also just thankful that we are part of such a truly caring and wonderful community. I don't take this for granted one bit, and I'm very thankful for that. Anybody else have any news? Anyone?
I have some news.
Anyone? Oh,
Rabbi.
enter. Yes, please.
So some of you have known that for the past few years, Moshe and I have been through a bit of a long journey in becoming parents. And through the miracle, it's so amazing that I get to share this with you over Parshat Noach. Because really at the end of this whole story, we see this amazing miracle, God's presence in the sky with a rainbow. And our own rainbow baby girl is arriving April 16th, and I'm really excited to share that with all of you.
Shabbat.
Thank you.
It's incredible. So, when we Jews know that we are experiencing a particular type of time, right, a particular type of holiness and time with our gratitude, we say of the Shehechianu, literally, thank you that we're here, that we're together, that we're breathing, and may we have this type of experience, this type of time together, this type of news, again and again and again. Please join us for Shehechianu, which can be found on your daf, page 10.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu hazman hazeh. Amen.
Our Misha Barak prayer, also found on page 10 of your daf, is where we ask for a refuah shlema, a complete healing, a speedy recovery for those in our lives in need of a healing of mind, of body, of soul, of relationship. Our congregation asks for a refuah shlema for Betty Miller, Vicki Atkinson, Brett Samsky, Andy Rush, Eva Lippman, Aaron Brody, Murray Goldstein, Marsha Rosing, Conrad Jacobson, Michael Walensky, Joanne Lipsitz, Zahara Miller, Baruch Ben Marcy, Ari Yaakov Ben Leah Devora, Jack and Sarah Elkin, Andrea Saradini, Matthew Wilcox, Deborah Braun Schwartz, Rennie Waltzman, Maltipela Ben Devora Halevi, Shifra Batsara, Mindy Spector, Robert Weinstein, Jeffrey Sigelman, Leah Mencha Bat Yitzchak Benjamin Veliba, Max Gantz, Annie Solomon, Edgar Mixon. For those who are saying a Misha Barak for someone in particular, and it could be you, please add their name into our feed or say their names under your breath. For those who are here with us tonight live, when my arms or eyes meet you, please feel free to say the name of the person that you are saying a Misha Barak for. Thank you. 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 Okay, as is the Minhag Hamakom, the tradition of this place, if you arise where you are, and if you're sitting next to somebody in your pod, feel free to put an arm around them. If you're not in a pod or you're at home without somebody with you, feel my arms around you. My arms are around you. Our arms are around each other as we sing our Misha Barak prayer together.
May the source of
Refuah Shlema. Remain standing for Kiddush, page 123 in your Mishkan, page 11 on your Daf. If you have a Kiddush cup, please get it on out as we say Kiddush with a Chudor mitzvah, making our mitzvah more beautiful by the sanctity of the objects that we use. So for everyone, if you have your Kiddush cup, raise it up, in it the fruit of the vine, wine, or grape juice as we get ready together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yahava v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila l'mikrai kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava v'ratzon hinkatanu. Lift up your glasses really high. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim l'bracha, to life with blessings. Aleinu, page 586, 12 on your Daf.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר Adonai למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We've come to the moment in time where we say the mourner's Kaddish, which you'll find on 598 of your Mishkan, 13 of your Daf. Mourner's Kaddish is the prayer that we say, and in doing so, sages tell us our beloved deceased have an aliyat hanefesh, an ascent of soul. Certainly the words of the mourner's Kaddish, just the sounds of the mourner's Kaddish, bring about in us a visceral reaction. When we are intentional about who we're saying Kaddish for, we become flooded with memory and a sense of their presence and a sense of what we had together. In the period of Shiva, the families of Stu Aaron and Paul Siegel. In Shloshim, the families of Barbara Abrams, Herman Saltzman, Jerry Goldberg, Norman Goldstein, Irene Segelman. The yard sites for this Shabbat, for Susan Abrams, Sophie Apple, Bertha Bear, Saul Brown, Linda Kofsky, Louisa Cohen, Molly Felder, Ellen Fine, Edward Fink, Jenny Friedman, Paul Goodman, Sarah Herskowitz, Mo Jaslow, Harold Carpel, Sandra Kurtz, Jerry Klein, Reuben Klug, Dora Kramer, Rose Liederman, Helen Leff, Sylvia Lippman, Marietta Mayer, Benjamin Miller, Harriet Mervis, Betty Molkner, Jerry Prusan, Geraldine Sack, Barry Silver, Diana Slotsnik, Samuel Sorkin, Irene Stein, Marilyn Stanyau, Barbara Stone, Kenneth Teller, Hannah Turner, Paul Weinberg, Evelyn Winograd. If you are in the Shloshim period of mourning, the first 30 days of a loved one's passing, we would ask you to rise now. And please remain standing so we can recognize you and send you all of our love. If you are in the first year of mourning a loved one's passing, we ask you now to rise as well where you are and to remain standing. If you are commemorating the yahrzeit, the death anniversary of a loved one's passing, please rise now. And if it is your custom to rise in solidarity, or for those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, we encourage you to do so now. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 598. Think of that person or people whom you are intentionally saying Kaddish for, and may you be flooded with their memories of your relationship and your connection. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah Be'alma divrach Yerotei v'yamlich Malchutei B'chayechon of Yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael B'gala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh Vita dar vita le vita la Shmei dekudsha b'richu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu.
Celebration of their life.
Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Memories come to you.
Shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Everybody, it has been a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Be the dove, not the raven, and everybody, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat